Yeah, sure. So I think start with the things I thought we did well. Continue to do some good situational things. Red zone in particular was, at times was good for us. We played some good third down defense again at times. We turned the ball over, took the ball away, which was great. But the theme of all that is it wasn't consistent enough, and that was our defense in general last year, is just consistency or the lack thereof. So, the obvious is the run defense and the explosive runs and passes. So that's something that'll be continually addressed as we go forward through the preseason and off season here.
How do you see building the interior defensive line? Where do you start? Object there, and what's the formula?
Well, I just think we keep, it's a position that I think you just keep you're always adding youth and strength to that position, whether it comes in free agency or the draft, that stuff will all be played out. But I think it's something that you're always adding to.
Young guys on the back end, how do you think that they bring it back in the
Yeah, I think they played like young guys, and we all wanted it to be better players, coaches, for sure. Again, there was things that were really good at times, but it goes back to just wasn't consistent enough, and next year will be better for sure.
What's Dax's spot next year? Is he safety, or is that something that you're open to moving?
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking at everything. I think we look at not just Dax, but everybody last year. When you have a year where it wasn't quite up to standard, I think it's just something that you evaluate and, hey, is this guy going to be better here or there? But not anything in particular there. Just keep working on it.
He can do all of it, so it gives you the options of considering things, I guess, right? I mean,
Well,
just because he's so freaky
yeah.
physically,
Yeah, I think he's got to be good at one thing, and so that's what we're working on now, is being good at one thing. So,
How important is how important is that for a young guy to have him in one spot? He's athletic to maybe try all of these different things, but to get him to be a master at one versus the
well, again, I think it's let's go back a little bit. He's still a young player in a lot of regards. It was only his second year. He played a handful of snaps his first year. So I think his development and his upside is still huge, and nobody's down on the guy at all. We just have to make sure that he's honed in and making sure he's being able to do the things that we're asking him to do, wherever that may be.
Can Hill be a safety, or is he just so good where he is?
Yeah, you hate to. He's such a dominant player. He does some safety jobs for us on different down and distances, but to say he's a full-time safety, Mike's one of the best nickels, if not the best nickel in the league. So I don't want to tinker with that too much.
Top interior defensive linemen can do and the difference it can make. I know those are typically very expensive positions. Do you feel like in the last couple of years you might have seen the fact that like maybe you guys don't just need one or two, but you had DJ and BJ, but you really need that third person to, whether it be to take snaps off BJ or just to generate one?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You look at the teams that go far. Obviously, great quarterbacks, but dominant defensive lines are kind of a theme as we look forward. So we've got pieces in place for sure, and as you mentioned, that year was great to have Larry and that rotation of three, and really Josh would come in and he was the fourth and would rotate with those guys. So yeah, the more the merrier. If we added D-line, D tackles, I'd be a happy guy.
How much do you agree with somebody who's in interior, that one of the three tech that in one spot, being able to go upfield and rush the passer and those flats and is that kind of a necessary thing?
Well, I think it'll just continue to. You go back to 21, like Kelsey just said. I think Larry had 7.5 sacks maybe that year, and Sam had a bunch of sacks. Trey is always going to have a bunch of sacks, but that inside pressure can just force it back to those guys and make it even easier. So, and then in our division in particular, when you have a presence inside, where a lot of those quarterbacks like to scramble, that can maybe make that a little bit tougher for them as well. So we're always looking for that.
As far as overall pass rush, do you think Miles Murphy is on the right track to contribute even more?
I do. You know, you see strides with the guy. You see his development, not only as a rusher, but also as the year went on, as playing the run game. And so I was happy with where he was at. And hopefully, you know, we'll see not only Miles, but Joseph. Joseph's not rehabbing anything this year, and he's in there every day, just working on different things. So I'm anxious to see a healthy Joseph Osai as well. I think that's always a conversation that's ongoing because, you know, as we know, it's something that when things can go sideways a little bit, it usually starts back there with communication, and the guys that have done it and have experience can always add to that. It's just a fine line of how it all fits with the whole picture because you start talking about veteran safeties, and oh, by the way, the third safety has to play a lot of special teams, and so you know, so it's a balancing act, but everything's open or on the table right now.
What kind of step forward can Jordan Battle take in leadership position in this area?
Well, I think he can now go out there and know that he's kind of played effectively, you know, for a number of snaps. Still got a long way to go, but at the end of the day, there's things that he's done well, and I think he should and will take the next step from all of that, you know, whether it's leadership, communication, and just continuing to hone his game on different things as well.
What did you see in terms of his growth significant, I assume, from the first half to the second half of the season?
I just think having a better feel for what we want out of him and his position, the expectations that he has for not only himself, but you know, for the rest of the defense and that back end where, you know, clearly wasn't good enough last year. I think he's one of those guys that kind of looks to me as saying all the right things about putting it on his shoulders to improve next year.
When you look at the explosives where he's at, is it youth? Is it scheme? Is it play calling? Is it what do you think?
It's definitely not play calling. It's a combination. You know, you just on every defense we have and put out there. You know, as I've said to you guys a million times, there's not a defensive scheme that we have that says, all right, leave that guy open, you know, or don't cover that gap. So we're always, you know, got our, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted, all that stuff. So I think when things break down the way they did last year, it was a lot of it was the second half of the play where we kind of just lost who we were covering, had a missed tackle at the point of attack. You know, a lot of our rushing yards, I want to say we faced 30 more runs than we did in 22 and in 3 less games than in 22. So we got more at-bats against the run. And I want to say there was over, I don't know the exact numbers, like 296 yards after first contact. So you're talking about almost 3 more games of rushing yards just on a missed tackle, or you know, we hit the guy and he falls forward for 3, 4, or 5. So too many of those things last year.
Fixable.
Yeah, well, they're all fixable for sure. So I think there's a lot of elements to it, and you know, we got our arms wrapped around it and got to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And I didn't mean play calling.
I'm just busting your
I guess I meant communication.
You're not the first one to question my play call.
I meant communication.
It's fine. Yes, 100%. Yeah, and to your point, the communication part of it is something that you know, I'm not the only coach standing up here saying we have to have great communication on defense, and it has to improve. You know, it's got to sound like the locker room when we're out there on defense. It's got to be loud. It can't be, you know, like these guys are these days where they just take their phones out and nobody's talking to each other. It's got to be the bus and the locker room, loud. That's what I want.
How confident are you that Jordan can get the most out of the young safeties?
I'm super confident. Love Jordan. Been with him. You know, I was screaming at him as a player. Did you guys interview him today? Okay, ask him about specifically Tennessee Titans, Dolphins against the Titans. It's the end of the game. We're beating the Titans pretty good that day. And Jordan went out there at safety, and just ask him what happened at the end of the game. It'd be 2015. Just ask him.
I was trying to ask you if any
Well, he's this. No, this guy is. Think about Jordan's path and his career as not only a coach but a player and who he is as a human. I mean, the guy was a walk-on at Michigan, earned a scholarship, and oh, by the way, is a captain. Came to Miami, and when we first got there, we did a lot of two split station like drills. So team was going on here. There was another set of team drills going on the other field. And when that happens, you know, we're stretched thin. There's not a lot of backup. So think about Miami in July and August, okay, where you walk outside and you're sweating. Imagine trying to practice football. This guy never came off the field, did extra sprints. Like he willed his way to make the team, okay, as an undrafted free agent. I think we gave him about $25 and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to come. And the guy just has never stopped. And so when you have that internal drive as a person, he's going to succeed in everything he does in life. I love Jordan. He's great.
Do you feel like the Packers maybe took a step back last year, or how do you feel like they played?
I just think they're in line with everybody. I think that we all didn't do well enough last year. So to just pin it on one group, I would say that wouldn't be fair. If you asked Logan and Jermaine, they would say that, hey, we've got to play better. And again, I think that's every level of the defense, not just those guys. And again, those guys had some really, really good games, you know, like all of us. But it wasn't consistent enough.
It's been a while since we needed a starting nose tackle. I know DJ spent
Well, he's still here, right? Technically.
technically.
More weeks.
But he's scheduled to become a free agent. Obviously, his college season in there. Do you feel like that's a position because it's so important in your scheme that you need a veteran rather than a first-round draft pick?
Well, I'd rather go, you know, you'd always rather go with, hey, here's what I see. They've done it at this level. You know, DJ is a hard guy to replace. Hopefully we don't have to. But he's such a great locker room guy to start with. And then just what he does inside in the interior of the defense, he just controls blocks. It's a lot of things that people don't see. You can't look at DJ Reader in that position and say, let me look at his numbers. Even though he has, you know, good numbers for the position, he is just dominant when it comes on to taking on blocks, taking on double teams, and not getting moved. And that allows other people to make plays. And when you don't have that, it creates other issues.
How complicated is that situation with DJ given the injury?
I know he's another guy that's been in there every day working hard, and you know, I don't know the exact timeline yet, but I'll let Duke and his crew work that out, and hopefully it works out good for us.
As you start going through the process of some of the draft kids, defensive tackle in particular, is when you're in this division, what you need is size one of the top of the kind of non-negotiable, or power at least inside there for you. You know, because you'll see a lot of these undersized guys. You can maybe sell it, but is that for you?
It's a good question because, you know, like when I watch the free agents that are in the league now, I hope and pray that they've played against our division, because I'll go right to the Baltimore tape, I'll go right to the Cleveland tape, right to the Pittsburgh tape, because when they're playing those group of teams, it's a little bit different than a lot of the other teams in our league where these guys are roaring off the ball, double teams, big people, and trying to knock you to next week. So if you can't anchor in there, and if you're going to get moved and you're going to try to swim around blocks, that creates again different issues for us on defense. So yeah, it's a little bit different in the AFC North.
Is there a guy you maybe hoping to see, and maybe a young guy you hope to see make a big leap next year?
I want to say, and not necessarily. I'll put like everybody in the first 3 years of their career in that. So, you know, Jordan, Dax, DJ Turner, Miles. I still put Joseph in there because of his health issues that he's had. So all those guys in there need to step up and play well next year.
Is that basically going to be the determining factor, you think, of how good that defense is going to be next year? Is how well they perform?
I mean, I think it's going to be everybody because it always is. But those guys will, if they contribute the way that I know they can, I think we'll be back on the right track.
Turner started so fast. Was that just kind of a thing where guys hit the rookie wall a little bit at the end, or it just was a long season?
I think Mike Hilton hit that one on the nose when he said he didn't hit the rookie wall. I think the rookie wall hit him.
Yeah.
So I do think that he. So I'm still on Mike's line there, but he did have a strong training camp. Came out and started pretty good, but again, I'll use it again. I know it sounds boring, but the consistency wasn't there and needs to be better.
Third corner seemed to, backing up TJ. DJ.
Yeah.
DJ's a starter now, right?
Well, I look at the NFL these days as there needs to be 3 starting corners. You have to have 3 at the very minimum. We've done a good job. Chuck's done a good job developing that group. I thought DJ Ivey had to come in for some snaps and unfortunately got hurt. But the first play he's out there, I think it was against Minnesota, and they run a double move on him, and he's like on it like it was, like it was nothing. So I think you need at 3 minimum, and you look at as starters, and then you kind of go from there.
Do you have 3?
I think we do.
As a general rule, when you're preparing for some of these elite quarterbacks to face them, when they have explosive run games to lean on as well, how hard does it make it to prepare for those?
I think anytime a team has the element of a run game, where you've got to now just think of the simplest things you've heard, right? Where we got to outnumber them in the run game to help stop that. Well, then that leaves people one-on-one on the outside. And when you have a Patrick Mahomes or any of the elite quarterbacks that we have to play, Lamar, all those guys, Josh Allen, and so on. But you're going to leave yourself a little bit lighter somewhere, and you just got to try to pick and choose when you do that and what spots. And so it certainly makes it a little more difficult.
Guys, as an organization, I mean, I know there's only so much you can do when you have to pay a quarterback and a receiver, like some of the decisions that you guys have to make. Do you feel like as an organization you guys learned a lesson in what happened with your safety position last year? And I mean, you famously said it would be a dark day if we lost both of them, and then you did, and the group took a pretty significant step back. Do you feel like you guys learned a lesson in maybe trying to not use both at positions where you can?
Yeah. I don't, we never really sat down and said that. I just think, it's just, you had a unique group, and those guys worked together so well. And so it was such a significant impact when you went from new player to young player, from veterans, really, really good players that knew exactly what I was thinking and what the team was thinking. So it was a little bit of a unique situation that way. But I think every year we're always learning something one way or the other. So, yeah, we'll see.
To Kelsey's point, I think Duke said the other day what he learned from Vaughn and Jesse's situation is sometimes you have to reboot. As a defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
do you ever think about having to start all over or at least reboot what you're doing?
Well, I just think you're driving back home and you're maybe not, where you might have been starting here, the 22 training camp. Well, now you're starting down here just from hey, all right, here's how we want to do this, and here's how we'll play that route, where maybe those two guys would have been like, yeah, what are you talking about, coach? We got that, so you just, but that's this league, and we're not unique to this. We're not unique to losing players in free agency or whatever it may be. So, we just have to do a better job next year.
You guys have gone light in OTAs. How valuable would more team periods be to get the safeties some more time on task together, chemistry-wise?
I think the way Zach has done it has been great for our team, just because we've played until February, the previous 2 years, and these guys are all banged up from a long season, and I think that toll that it takes on a team to start right again, what is that, like a month and a half later, whatever, is a lot. So, we'll see. I think it can help. Always more practice reps helps, but I think we've had the exact right approach in the past. We'll get some more. We'll just be better at what we do. It's not about doing more. I think it's just being about better at what we do.
And with going back to DJ, it's crazy is on the field. Anytime his name comes up, everybody talks about leadership.
Yeah.
If he does move on, are any of those young guys that you could see being a future defensive captain or kind of in that role of a DJ?
Well, we still have some great other guys there. I mean, you're talking about Sam Hubbard and Trey and B.J. Hill. Those guys they're not going to walk lightly through the locker room. Everybody, and then the back end guys with Mike and Logan and Jermaine. So we've got leadership, but it's a little bit different when DJ says something. What was that old commercial? When
DFO.
Yeah, everybody listens. And he's been there. He's done it. He's done it at the highest level. He's been one of the best at his position in the league. So let's hope he stays with us.
Since Trey doesn't want to do a lot of media, we don't know what
Trey Hendrickson.
we really know nothing about him.
Yeah.
So what's he like kind of as a leader in that way? Like how is he like in that way of mentoring some of these young guys?
Yeah, he's been great. Miles and Joseph will go to him. Matter of fact, Trey is in there every day, and Joseph, they sit right next to each other, just talking about things. And he talks to Miles all the time, and he has his own way about going about his business, and his business is about being the best player he can be, making sure we're the best team we can be, and helping those younger players develop, because he knows that can only help us when him and Sam are getting a rest. These guys that we put out there, he's got to be. So he does so many different things that people don't see, and did I read right that he wasn't a first or second team All-Pro? I was just wondering if anybody that's ever had 17 or 15 plus sacks, I wonder if that's ever happened.
Like I said, he doesn't do a lot of media. So we don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's a great player.
It is a tough division.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
You guys showed him his advanced numbers receptions. You could make the argument he was probably one of the top two.
Yeah. It's like every game he's going to impact the game somehow, some way, and it's like all those great rushers where it could be a holding call, could be a false start that he causes. The way the protection's going to go, which frees up some other things for other people. So when you get guys like that, it really affects the opposing team.
On the other side, you've sung Sam's praises often.
Yeah.
But why is he such a good fit for what you like to do? He's obviously been just what you felt like you needed.
Yeah, I just think he can do so many different things. I think you'll see a healthy, re-energized, not that he ever lost his energy, but rejuvenated Sam Hubbard. He's a true warrior, old school, all those terms that you want to throw out there, basically playing on one leg last year. So, and he never wanted to come off the field. And he'll be back with a vengeance this year like we all will be.